Cheers. Welcome back. Or welcome. You've missed 16 other videos. You've missed some of the ride. I'm glad you're still here. If you're joining me again. Yesterday was interesting, the dating. As you saw, I like dating dynamics. That's why I kept on wanting to ramble. I find it interesting. Being a single man is quite detrimental to my dating life, understanding the dynamics that work within relationships. And I didn't like the questions that they had on the first dates. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that was in the last video. I came up with some other ones. If you're on a first date, connecting good emotions in the interaction is really important. So asking questions that pull out those sort of things. So even asking, what's the favorite thing about yourself? And ask that question to yourself as well, so that way you're ready to have that interaction of sharing. Another great question is, what's something that you like imagining about in your future? Something that they are looking forward to, or something that they're projecting that they would love to experience in their life. Or what is your love language? If you don't know love languages, that's a great book, The 5 Love Languages, and discussing how you like interacting and giving and receiving love. Talking about that on a date is awesome. Getting to know each other, as well as a really cool question is to ask is, what's something you've always wanted to try on a date and never have? Pulling that out helps you organize the second date. You're getting information. You'll be like, okay, I can step up. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. What they want, secretly desire to maybe experience on a date. Pull that out. Or what's your favorite song at the moment? Or what song will you listen to on the way home from this date? Talking about the favorite song, whenever they hear that again, they may think of you. So connecting you with some positive emotions already in their life. That's enough of dating. We spoke about that last night. But I was thinking about it a bit more, and I thought I'd throw some extra questions because I didn't like the ones that I came up with on the spot. So I thought I'd give you some extra ones to help with the dating, the non-drinking. We got to be ready to bring our best self. So today, drinking cranberry pomegranate. What are you drinking? You know, let me know. Write it in the comments. Cheers. Here we go. Guess what? We're starting with a quote. As always, from Tony Robbins. Tony pops in for a chat, and what has he got to say? Beliefs have the power to create and the power to destroy. Human beings have the awesome ability to take any experience of their lives and create a meaning that disempowers them, or one that can literally save their lives. Okay. You've heard this before, but let's hear it again. Your mind is incredibly powerful. It can be a staunch ally, or your worst enemy, depending on how you use it. The good news is that once you've learned how the mind works, you can take control and use its power to change anything in your life using the power of your brain. If you believe that you're going to be miserable without a drink in your hand at a social occasion, sporting event, concert, or even home alone, you will be. If you've got the thought that tonight's going to be miserable, self-fulfilling prophecy will happen. If you believe you're going to be lonely, you will be. If you believe you're going to be bored, you will be. If you believe this experiment is miserable, it will be. I'm not asking you to counter these beliefs. Like we've talked about, sit in the feelings and realize, what belief do I have to cause these feelings to come up? Simply thinking, I believe I will be happy without alcohol, isn't enough. That's using willpower. And in the previous videos, we've realized willpower runs out. Worse, your brain knows you're lying to it. It's smarter. It knows our underlying true beliefs. It knows that we're lying to it. You have to actually believe what you're telling yourself. You can't fool your subconscious brain. So how do you make that happen? All right, let's find out. Can you actually install new beliefs like you're installing software on a computer? And he says, absolutely you can. When you start to question your beliefs, you create space. If you're questioning those beliefs, you create space for maybe new beliefs to be installed. We're conditioned. We have conditioning to believe things. So let's talk about this conditioning. Neuropsychologists agree that we spend our lifetimes being conditioned. We've got people around us who have certain thoughts, and it could be sloppy thinking that we don't want to have. We're brought up with people with sloppy thinking, and they were brought up with people with sloppy thinking, so that's why and it's just the cycle repeats. Whether we expect start that again. We're teaching our brains what to expect in any circumstance. Whether what we expect actually happens doesn't matter, because we will manufacture circumstances that deliver exactly what we expect. This phenomenon has been studied over and over again. That's probably like the placebo effect we talked about. As we just learned, if you expect to be miserable, you will be. If you expect that going alcohol-free for these 33 days won't be a big deal, it won't be. I've sort of had the belief that doing these videos is gonna make me accountable and make me succeed. And that belief, I know, is actually working, which is awesome. So, yeah, you having the belief of sitting with me and pressing play every night and just believing, okay, I'm doing this with Paul. These chats will actually make me accountable, and I will get through these 30 days. So hanging on to that belief will make it real. We'll get through this together. So the ACT technique, which we always do in this book, is designed to help decondition you, to change your beliefs and what you actually expect. Once you shake the foundations of those conditioned beliefs, you can start to move forward without being hindered by those unhelpful, those maybe even unhealthy beliefs. A major fear for people before they start this alcohol experiment is they won't be able to do it. When I started these videos, I was just on a whim. I thought I'll just start these, and it's been more powerful, and this challenge is more full on than I expected. Like, if I stopped and thought about it, I probably wouldn't have started it, because I thought I would fail this. But anyway, they don't believe it will be possible to stop drinking even for a short time because of whatever their circumstance is. My circumstance was I was drinking very regularly, and stopping for 33 days, it was like I would not be able to do that. So I'm really intrigued seeing what happens as I continually journey. I'm going to do it. I am going to do this 33 days just to show myself that I don't need alcohol. Maybe creating new patterns in my lifestyles. We'll see how it all unfolds. Keep reading, Paul. They don't believe it will be possible and happy at the same time, or alcohol-free and relaxed at the same time. Is that possible? That's a completely understandable fear, but it's based on a false belief. We can do this. We can be alcohol-free and happy at the same time. Experiencing it will help shift that belief. Once you start to see other people being successful, you start to believe you can be successful too. Yes, watching this, going through it together, seeing successful people. I've got some people in my life who I know don't drink alcohol at all. I've seen them be successful. This is what's so great about the alcohol experiment and having it in a community. You get to see other people who are alcohol-free and happy. They're making it. We're making it. You can make it. I can make it. Yes, we can make this experiment a reality of 33 alcohol-free. Confirmation bias. So you know you're being conditioned to believe certain things and expect certain things in your life. But you also help cement those beliefs into your mind with something called confirmation bias. Have you ever tried to look something up online and stopped looking once you found an article or website that confirmed what you thought? Take dietary fat, for instance. There are plenty of studies and articles and forums out there that claim fat is bad for you. But there are just as many that claim the exact opposite. So which do you grab onto and do you believe? You believe what you've been conditioned to believe. And a lot of what we read will reinforce those things we believe, I guess. Unless you're consciously trying to change that condition, looking for articles that gets you to question your current belief structures. Confirmation bias doesn't only happen when you're surfing the net or browsing social media. When drinking becomes uncomfortable for us, we develop cognitive dissonance. We spoke about that earlier. The mind is uncomfortable because we're wrestling with two conflicting ideas. Alcohol relaxes us versus alcohol is making me depressed and miserable. That dissonance is incredibly painful, so your brain looks for a way to ease the pain. I guess the easiest way is just to fall back into your same thinking beliefs. Ease the pain. How? by looking for confirmation one way or the other. Maybe we share social media posts about the benefits of red wine. That confirms wine is good for us, and so the dissonance is eased. Maybe we put funny plaques on the wall like, "Gone drinking, will return when I can't remember why I started." What that does is make us feel better because it's funny, but subconsciously it also makes us feel weak because it's also confirming our belief that we need alcohol to deal with our lives. "Gone drinking, will return when I can't remember why I started drinking." Recently, I've noticed more and more slogans that are supposed to be funny but really aren't. Maybe not funny if you're dealing with that dissonance. Here's some of those slogans. "I'm not addicted to wine. We're in just a very committed relationship." Or, "A day without wine is like..." Just kidding. I have no idea. These plaques are for sale for women to put in their kitchens. The truth is that we're justifying an addiction. We're using confirmation bias to justify heavier and heavier amounts of drinking. Seeing that plaque in your kitchen every day, yeah, it's reinforcing the fact that you need a drink. We're going into visualization now. Is this going to get a bit woo-woo? Let's find out. Visualization. Now you know the ways you reinforce your beliefs. What are some ways you can go about breaking or reconstructing those beliefs? One of my favorite ways, says Annie, is to use visualization. So she's used visualization to help. How? Let's find out. Numerous studies show that the mind can't tell the difference between a real memory and a powerfully visualized memory. That's interesting. One strong visualization to try is to picture yourself going out and having a great time without alcohol. Visualizing myself going to see a band, having a lemon lime and bitters lemonade or something, and talking to people, having a good time, enjoying the band, and just visualizing that. When I first gave up drinking, I would visualize the entire evening. From the start of the band to the end of the band, me going home, not drunk, safe on the train, rather than not knowing what station to get off. I'd imagine myself going out for the evening with some friends. I would imagine the restaurant we were going to. I'd imagine ordering a big steak or whatever you like to eat for dinner. And instead of the usual bottle of wine, visualize ordering a tonic and lime. And then I'd visualize myself laughing and having a great time. Pulling up those happy things. The brain doesn't know the difference between a real memory and a visualized one. Your brain is crazy. My brain is even crazier. It worked, she says. The brain can't tell the difference because when it has colorful, vivid, convincing pictures, it essentially tries to make those pictures a reality. So those visualizations are actually affecting your future reality. That's pretty cool. One mistake people make is to think about One mistake people make is to think about and visualize what we don't want. But the mind doesn't necessarily understand the word don't. You get whatever you think about. Think about being awkward on a date, or think about having a good time. Which in this case is the opposite of what you want. If you going, oh, this is be awkward, and then it happens. So if you imagine, I don't want to just sit there and be miserable, but you're thinking of yourself sitting there and being miserable, that's what your brain works from. Yeah, I don't want to be going to a band and feel awkward. And I am actually thinking about myself sitting, I talked about that in one of the videos, sitting at the back and being awkward. I came up with those visualizations because I was saying, I don't want to be at the back and feeling awkward. It tries to make that scenario a reality. But if you think of yourself going out and having a great time, your brain tries to make that scenario a reality. Just saying it out loud doesn't work. You have to visualize all the nuances and the entire scene and be specific. What clothes are you going to be wearing? Yeah. Be as specific as you possibly can when we are visualizing. Mentally rehearse what you're wearing. I'm always one step ahead of her. What you're thinking and what you're saying. Even what you're saying. Take the time to sit for 5 or 6 minutes. Set a timer, close your eyes, and go through the visualization from the beginning of the night through dinner, concert, date, through to the end of the night. She says not to worry if you're there in the 5 or 6 minutes, and even during it, you're like, what if this doesn't work? This is silly. Try it. But be as specific as possible. If you want to boost the effects even further, add emotions to that visualization. Like she said, she really went into the feelings of being at that restaurant, eating, drinking, feeling the tastes of those scrumptious meals, drink, and also putting happiness and laughter into that visualization. How will you feel going out to dinner and ordering an iced tea? I'm going to feel amazing. I'll feel so in control of myself and so proud. That's a good emotion to connect and go, I'll feel proud of myself that I'm having so much fun without alcohol. Then try to feel the feelings in the moment while you're visualizing. Get that excited feeling in your chest. Can that come up? Sitting in that? Or the tingling maybe in your hands? Notice what feelings you get. What happens to you? I think everyone will be different when they have different feelings. Yeah, put that big smile on your face. Be in it. The more emotions you visualize, the more powerful your visualizations will be. Okay. Are we going to try this? Are you going to try this? I might give it a go. I think I was giving it a go just then. I was actually thinking and putting myself in a dinner, and I also put myself in a concert situation. Yeah, all right. So today, think of the next stressful thing you're going to go through when you might be tempted to give in and have a drink. When's the next thing in our lives coming up that will be tempted? I know I've got some work things coming up where I will get invited out to have a drink, I know. Maybe it's going out with your friends. Maybe it's just surviving another stressful day at work. Maybe it's just a normal day, and every day is a drinking day. Then go through the visualization exercise and visualize the experience exactly how do you want your day to go? How do you want that event, situation to go? Well, visualize it. Then after the event, come back and write down what actually happened. Did you get what you expected? Did it shift just a little bit? And each time you do this, it'll shift just a little bit more? Maybe. Or did this visualization actually come true? We've got some reflections again from Cami. Here we go. Wow, I'm stoked. Sounds like it worked for her. This is the longest I've been alcohol-free in probably a year and a half. I'm thrilled to have broken the cycle and to be creating new habits, new healthy habits, and altering my neural pathways. My husband discreetly had a few drinks last night. He was cheeky. He must have been hiding somewhere. I could smell it on him. He was respectful and was not obvious or drunk. He's trying to hide it. The best thing is, I didn't desire to join him. I didn't even ask or bring it up. I'm too content with the changes I've made for myself and the future to fall back. Yeah. She's content with the changes and the future that she can see to fall back into the alcohol again. What future can you see with yourself without alcohol? And with alcohol? Good question. Regina. I'm so proud of myself. I feel alive and present in this world. Being present is wonderful. Keep going. It gets better. Keep going. It gets better. Bailey. Here we go. Bailey's talking about the visualization. Let's see what happens. I used visualization and made it through my first event, alcohol-free. Turning down wine and was easier than I thought. At the same time, I do struggle thinking about how I'll get through this summer. A hot days, you deserve a beer. I waffle between thinking my problem is not that bad, and yet I have tried to stop drinking 4 times in the past 5 years. It may not be that bad, but I'm uncomfortable with it and I want more out of life. Yeah, maybe our drinking isn't that bad, but if we can't go 33 days without alcohol, poses an interesting question. Bailey also says, I know that overall it's not going to enhance my health in the long run. I definitely have my good and bad days. Only about 16 alcohol-free now. I really would love this to be my last attempt. Will this be our last attempt to try doing 33 days alcohol-free? That's all we're focused on, just 33 days alcohol-free. Will I be watching this video series again? Will you have to try again? I cannot wait until being alcohol-free is actually automatic and as easy as being a non-smoker. Bailey probably was smoking before. I cannot wait until being alcohol-free is automatic. That we don't have to push into this dissonance, that we've got these new thinking patterns and we're taking control of our thinking. Yeah. I keep reminding myself I kicked the cigs. She was a smoker. Here's to the day when to drink or not to drink isn't even an issue because I don't care that I don't drink. Putting ourselves back in a position of power. It's not that I have to quickly get to the alcohol shop before it closes because I have to drink. No, it's what am I choosing? Just getting to that point where it's not this emotional attachment, which I explained in the first few videos. Yeah. ACT, awareness, clarity, turnaround. So alcohol helps when I am feeling lonely. Do I have that belief? Alcohol helps when I'm feeling lonely. I talked about the last time I drank, where I had an interesting conversation and it caused me to, maybe that was that loneliness. Alcohol helps when I am feeling lonely. Many people feel like they're less lonely when they drink, yeah, because it does numb our feelings. It's like even if their friends don't understand them, Uncle Jack Daniels, or Old Grandad, bourbon whiskey, totally get them. It seems to keep loneliness away. Annie says she knows this was true for her. Yeah, drinking to combat that lonely feeling. Let's get some clarity on this. You possibly do feel less lonely when you drink. And at some point you might have had a bad day and decided to try to drink alone, just drinking alone because you had a bad day. There's no one watching, there's no one judging when you're drinking all by yourself. So you can drink a lot quicker. You don't have a social situation to slow you down. So your blood alcohol content rises fast and you feel that quick hit of happiness straight away. I'm surprised how fast I drink the first drink. Sometimes I sit down for a movie and then it hasn't even started. I'm like, oh, I have to get a new drink. It feels euphoric for the first 30 minutes or so. We broke that down earlier. Have a look. You already know. You watched it. Cheers. Naturally, when you've experienced this firsthand, the belief that alcohol fights off loneliness settles into your subconscious and makes it self at home. Whenever I feel lonely, the last time this worked really well. So of course we're creating that connection and our brain wants to get rid of bad feelings and run towards the good. And when you drink to overcome pain, the alcohol actually has a more pronounced effect because it is a numbing agent, and when you drink for pleasure, actually has more of a pronounced effect because it is a numbing agent than when you drink for pleasure. It has more of an effect when you're drinking to numb pains like loneliness, anxiety, than if you're drinking with pleasure. That's interesting. So what's actually going on? The first feeling of euphoria takes away any discomfort you were feeling earlier. The very discomfort that made you to decide to have that drink in the first place. And you probably feel pretty good being alone, maybe for the first time in a long time. For most people, being alone isn't fun. It's awkward and uncomfortable being alone, being in your thoughts. But when you add alcohol, suddenly it's great. So of course you feel like it's the booze that's fighting off that loneliness. It's nothing more than a chemical concoction, yet you can even start to develop a friend-like relationship with it, a friend-like relationship with alcohol. It's not that alcohol is your friend, it's that you feel the pain of loneliness less when you're drinking. So if you're with your best friend, of course, that loneliness goes away. And the same can happen with alcohol. The loneliness goes away. So it's doing the same thing that a friend would do. Let's ask some questions, okay? Since you started drinking alone, has your life become more or less solitary? Mine became more solitary. A lot. Annie says, in her experience, I looked forward to drinking, and when I was drinking alone, I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. One woman told me she knew something needed to change when she started looking forward to an evening glass of wine even more than her kids coming home from school. She was getting a relationship need met, maybe. Has your life become more social or less social since you started drinking alone? It's normal for people to start avoiding social situations, even ones where they used to drink with their friends, because they figure out they can drink as much as they want at home with no one judging them. I also chose to drink alone too because it's way cheaper. You can drinking in a bar or a club, it's way too expensive, but you can get the cheap stuff at local places here in Australia. Dan Murphy's or Aldi's. Aldi, one of our supermarkets, actually won some wine competitions, and some of their wines are really good and really cheap, but you can't buy that. You buy a glass in a club or a restaurant, I could get a whole bottle. So of course I was choosing to drink alone at home because it was better value for money and I could drink as much as I want, not having to deal with people. Bonus! Soon you might find reasons to excuse yourself from any social situations so that you can drink alone. Yeah, I was weighing up. I could go out with some friends. That will cost $60, or I could spend $30 and stay at home. Are you closer to or further away from people you love? Are you closer or further away from the people that you love? Children, your partner, parents. Think of your high school friends. Or person that you traveled with recently. Are you still connected with them? I thought my drinking brought me closer to my partner because I could unwind around him. But over the years, as I increased my drinking, I often found myself in bed with a glass of wine when he was downstairs watching TV. If you're married or in a relationship, are you getting isolating yourselves in different areas of the house? Spending less time together? Questions? The alcohol actually drove us apart. Is drinking the only social activity your friends seem to do these days? Is that the only reason why you get together? Is there any other common goals and trajectory in your life? Is the only common thing alcohol? Question mark. You might be feeling lonely because alcohol is the only shared experience you have anymore. I remember when I stopped drinking, a dear lifelong friend I'd known since kindergarten stopped coming over to hang out. It was a long time before I finally found out that she didn't think we'd have anything to talk about or do if we weren't drinking those margaritas together. So that was their glue. This took Annie by surprise, she says. I had no idea she felt like that. I'd known her for over 30 years and we'd only been drinking together for the past 10. They had 20 years of experiences together, but the 10 years of shared alcohol experience trumped it. Even though we had a huge shared history, she had this overwhelming fear because we recently had only alcohol in common. Wow. She was worried that it would be awkward. I told her that every new experience without alcohol took a little while to get used to, and asked her to come over again. It would take a while to get used to. If it was awkward or uncomfortable, well, at least we'd get a good laugh out of it. a good laugh out of it. She came over for the first time in 2 years, and we had the best time together. We talked about our families, politics, religion, and laughed until our stomachs hurt. We had so much fun connecting with each other that we completely forgot about the movie and hike that we had planned. I had some things planned to do together. Didn't even get to do them. Having some fun talking about what they like talking about. Maybe things they used to talk about 10 years ago, but with the alcohol, they weren't in a position to be talking about politics. They weren't in the mindset. Annie says that they are now closer than they've ever been. And all because we showed up and connected to each other. Sitting with each other in the moment. Yeah. That was something that alcohol had been stealing from us all along. And we didn't even know it. They weren't present. So that 10 years was them actually drifting apart. It wasn't that she stopped drinking that was the problem. It was the alcohol within the relationship causing them not to be present with each other. For 10 years, they felt like they had nothing to connect over. Wow, interesting. Let's look at the external evidence for a minute. There are actual physiological reasons that alcohol robs us of our ability to connect. Physiological reasons that alcohol robs us of our ability to connect with other people. Alcohol slows down the speed of your neurons that fire in your brain. That means you think more slowly. I remember talking to one of my friends on the phone. I'd been drinking. He goes, "You're speaking really slow and concise. Are you okay?" It's because I had to really focus on saying the words and not slurring. I didn't want him to realize I'd been drinking, so I had slowed down my processes. "You're speaking really slow and precise." I must have been really thinking about what I was saying. So that means you think really slowly. You take longer to respond. I probably was. And the longer the alcohol is in your system, the harder you have to concentrate just to speak at all. So yeah, it was in my system, and I had to really concentrate to be in the conversation. I was not present. I was concentrating on just getting the words out. I probably wasn't even responding to what he was talking about. You don't retain much of what's happening around you, so your perception. So you retreat further and further into yourself. You get lost because those outward things are getting numbed, so you get lost within yourself. So you're Alcohol blurs the edges around what's actually going on. So what's actually going on could be different than what you're perceiving. You also become emotionally withdrawn, not wanting to open up because you're like, oh, all these emotions might come out. They don't want to hear about it, so you put up a wall. I was drinking with some friends in a hot tub, and I was going through some stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make sure I don't talk about that stuff tonight. And one of my friends, he's like, Paul, very quiet tonight. I'm like, yeah, because usually I'd talk to these guys a lot. There was a few of us in the hot tub, and I was drinking and like going, oh, don't want to release this emotional stuff. So it caused me to be really withdrawn. So what she's talking about, I have experience with. There's something to try during this experiment. Okay, here's something we can try. Go out with a bunch of your friends while they're drinking and you're not, all right? We're not drinking. We'll go out with our friends who are drinking. Then try to have a real heart-to-heart conversation with them. You'll find it's really nearly impossible. Because impossible to get them to take you seriously. Having heart to heart, they'll start laughing at you in their drunken state. You can see it in their eyes that they're not entirely present. So you won't be able to connect with them on that normal heart to heart level. They're distracted. Maybe they're too quick to laugh. Like they're trying too hard. Or you're talking with them and they're laughing before the punchline. If this behavior surprises you, realize you never noticed it before because you were drinking too and doing the same thing. You were also withdrawn into your own little world. I didn't notice any of this until I stopped drinking. How can two people form a true and lasting connection when they're both worried about falling off their chairs? My main focus at the moment is just staying up. It's great having a conversation. You have to have other times when you're not drinking with your friends if you want to actually experience a true connection. Yeah, and really, like, truly dispel those feelings of loneliness. You have to have non-drinking times with those drinking buddies. Otherwise, you're both using alcohol, not the relationship, to dispel those loneliness feelings. Real human connection comes from being vulnerable. Researcher Brené Brown has centered her life's work on this idea, vulnerability. Let's think about it. When people seem completely put together and perfect, do you want to connect with them? Probably not. You might want to be like them, but you don't want to reach out and talk to them. You keep them, but you don't understand me. That comes only when a person is vulnerable and shows their flaws as well as their strengths. Yet we try to pretend we're perfect all the time. Vulnerability and showing our weakness strengthens relationships, maybe. We think if we pretend we're great, yeah, I'm great, then people will want to be our friends. They want to be friends with us because my life is so perfect. Maybe the opposite is true. I'll keep reading. But it's only when we admit when we are hurt or disappointed, when we're not perfect, that people connect and our loneliness subsides. Even if you and your best friend experience drunken moments of weeping, that emotions that I was talking about, that is emotions that do come up when you're drunk, and a confessional, I love you, man. Yeah, I know. No, man, you know, I love you. Yeah, I know. Just say thank you. I love you, man. Thank you. Chances are pretty good that neither of you will remember it in the morning. You won't remember those emotional. So, did it even exist if you have those full on emotional so called connections? If they weren't really your uninhibited, dulled sense. If, yeah, I'm thinking I get what she's saying. If you don't remember those, was it actual connection? Alcohol makes you think you're connecting when you're actually withdrawing. And because you're so withdrawn, that's why you can that's why you feel like you can say I love you, man. It's because it's it's a withdrawn within yourself emotions coming up rather than two people connecting. If we really want to combat loneliness, we need to be courageous enough to be raw and real in the being in the present, raw and real, really in the moment. We need to talk about our struggles. The more I show up with real stories, the more people come back with their own real stories. We're all struggling together. I think this life's all a training school. We're here to train and learn. So we're all going through struggles. Everyone. The more we pretend we have it all together, the more we push other people away. Wow, Annie says that drinking Annie was pretty good at small talk and making all the jokes, but she wasn't great at making lasting connections. Yeah, I've made a lot of friends when I was out drinking, but I never spoke to them again after I added them on Instagram or Facebook. You're like, oh, that was that person I met. We were the bestest of friends. In fact, despite the perceived closeness and the fact that we poured out all our drunken secrets to one another, that's probably why I never speak to them again. I'm like, I told them too much. And the people I drank with most were not people I felt I could call on if I was having a hard time. So our drinking people are not the people that would call on if we're really hitting rock bottom. As alcohol steals our ability to connect, the more alone we become. Alcohol masquerades as our best friend, and all our friendships in the process become superficial. No one is truly themselves after even a few drinks, and we lose the ability to be truly vulnerable. We lose our chance for real, true relationships. Real, true relationships. There's sort of a non-connected, weird thing. As my drinking progressed, I found that it isolated me more and more. The more embarrassed I became about my struggle, and the more I worried I was about people judging me. and the more I wanted to be alone with the bottle. Drinking often starts out as a social activity, but then it becomes something we do alone and even sometimes secretly, driving us further and further away from true human connection. My drinking is done secretly, 100%. Even if I'm drinking with friends, I'll be drinking, but then I will when I get to a certain stage, I'll isolate myself, get some more drinks, go back home and finish by myself. I do that. So that's really interesting. It ends up isolating myself more because I'm like, I'm got to a point with these guys, and now I don't want to let them see how far I'm going to go. So me and my friend alcohol will hang out by ourselves and we'll finish the night. I do that. So turning this around, so we've been thinking that alcohol is our friend, which I literally just said. Is alcohol my friend? Is alcohol really your friend? Maybe our enemy. Is alcohol my enemy? So it's an emotional feeling that we have with alcohol that it's our friend. I'm going to go off and hang out with my friend by myself, me and my friend. So shifting that into a turnaround is powerful. There's an emotional relationship, really, that we have to distance ourselves from. So through these 33 days, I guess that is part of the process. So coming up with as many ways as we can that the opposite is true, that alcohol is our enemy. That is more true. It takes us away from loved ones and true relationships. Is that truer in our life than that original belief that we have that alcohol is our friend, or the literal feeling that we have that alcohol is our friend and it's a sneaky enemy? Whoa, that was a full-on chapter. Got me thinking a lot. Thanks for journeying with me. Moving to day 18 tomorrow. I do feel like I get bored. Like, I'm like, what am I going to do? And actually doing these videos has helped with me relieving boredom, because I'm having to do this for an hour, and it really gets me to sit in these unpleasant feelings and unpack them with you. So thank you, my friend. Thank you. So thanks for drinking with me. Whatever you're drinking, that's fine. Juice, wine, what's your drink of choice tonight? If you've gotten this far, write down in the comments, I'm drinking wine tonight. My friend. Thanks, my friend. No, right. Thanks, my friend. I'm drinking insert tonight. Write that down the bottom. If you reach this far, I'd like to know if someone's watched all the way through and say, thanks, my friend, I'm drinking red wine tonight. Or, thanks, my friend, I'm drinking carrot juice tonight. Do that for me. That'll be awesome. So, thanks for journeying. See you tomorrow. And we're going to talk about boredom and how to relieve that. Cheers.